So what are we doing today? We're getting ready to paint a fence, and I just thought there's a few key things to know about if you want to paint the fence once and not many times. First of all, if you have a pipe fencing, just to let you know, you're going to probably have to paint it if you just don't go with what we call Texas tan, which is just the pipe getting a rusty patina on it, and that's it. But because my ranch's colors are black and red, I decided that I wanted to have it black. So I have a few rusty spots, so I take Osphosphos and I just touch it up with that. I mean, ideally you take a sander and you sand off, touch it. You can either sand it off and then treat it, or just treat it straight away. Just depends on whether you have a bad texture or not. And then just a little bit about paint. That's probably the most important part as far as the paint that you use. I was using in the past implement paint. Comes in gallon buckets, but I've kind of changed my strategy to save a little bit of money and get a better quality product. And so I went to the paint store, namely Sherwin-Williams, and I asked if they had any trailer paint, because I know there's a lot of trailer companies here that make trailers and then paint them. As a matter of fact, I've seen them advertised that they had Sherwin-Williams paint on the trailer, which I know is really good quality paint. I didn't first believe in the difference in paints, but I have definitely seen the quality difference in the Sherwin-Williams paint. So I bought their size. They only come in this size of this industrial paint, so it has all the added properties of a more expensive paint. So I paid $250 for this 5 gallons, so it's certainly not cheap by any standard, and that's like within a commercial account, but it's worth it to me because I don't want to paint this fence more than once. So I had painted the fence once with a sprayer, and that just wastes a whole lot of paint, and I did it in the wind on top of it, so then I really wasted a lot of paint. But if you don't want to get your hands too dirty or too painted, you can use a roller, but at some point you're just gonna have to probably use a rag or something to get to the bottom of the rail, because that's a really easy place to miss. For some reason you just don't see it, or you just don't touch on it. So a paint roller for the majority of the pipe fence is probably the easiest and less messy. But I'm gonna change my shirt because I like this t-shirt and I don't want to ruin it. These pants, these already have paint on them, so I'm not worried about it. So I want to preserve this paint when I finally do open it, and it was suggested that after I open it, I put a film of plastic there and push it down so that there's less air touching the paint itself. So I'm definitely going to do that with the cost of the paint. So those are just some of the real basics. I mean, everybody knows how to paint. I kind of feel like Tom Sawyer. I sure would like to talk some people into helping me, because this is a very monotonous job after a while. At first it's kind of fun, and then after a bit it gets tiring. But as promised, I wanted my garden area to be pretty spiffy, so I want to paint not only the fence that surrounds it, which is pipe, but also the panels, the pipe panels that are around it, because well, as you know, everything costs money, and those pipe panels that I bought used for $55 a panel so many years ago, they're heavier and better, and I think they're at least over $100 now. So, and that's for a cheaper product. So I'm going to try and preserve everything that I have so I don't have to rebuy things. I had a friend that said, yeah, I did it the poor way. I bought it twice and I still had an inferior product. So it's better just to buy quality when you first start off, if you can figure out what that is. So the rest of the video is just pretty much me painting the fence. So that's what we're doing today. All right, I'm all changed. Got the paint in the pan. Couldn't find a screwdriver to get that commercial lid off. Had to go to the truck to go get it. So I'm just gonna kind of demonstrate how I start putting paint on the fence. So ideally, paint's a little bit thinner than I expected. But today is a perfect day to paint because it rained, which means all the dirt and dust came off the fence, and hopefully all the cow manure as well. And it's a dry day, which is very rare here in Texas. So you got to paint when you can. And I don't think it's supposed to rain. We just got done with a rainstorm. And apparently, the skunk family decided to move back into my garage. I thought I had sealed the garage because I could smell a skunk in there before. You know, just what I need. All my stuff from Arizona is in there packed until I build a house. And I got a skunk. So I was sweeping around and I discovered a skunk in the trap. I think that poor thing must have been there for days because it was dead already, which is kind of a good thing because I didn't have to deal with it flipping its tail up on me. But then when I was sweeping around, sure enough, another skunk was underneath the mower. And I hate to admit it, but I scream like a girl, kind of. At least one little yip anyway. So, I mean, if you've ever been sprayed by a skunk, you know that that'll ruin your day. So, anyway, you're probably wondering why I'm painting a fence when I need to build a house. But, truth be told, I'm kind of waiting for the building materials to go down. Now, wood has gone down, so that's actually making me think maybe I should build out of wood, but I don't like working with steel, but I'm kind of a fan of it because of the termites that also are here quite a bit. So, and even though I have this one hand gloved, it doesn't really matter. I know I'm gonna get paint all over the place. I'm a kind of messy painter, but I'll try my best to be cleaner. I think it's because I'm not patient. Surprise, surprise, right? Anyway, it's kind of a tedious job. It's fun to watch other people do it. Just depends on whether you like painting. I usually like painting in the beginning, and then somehow I get bored. But my goal is to paint just this garden area, everything that you can see the garden area, and then in places where I can't get with the roller or the rag, I will take I'll just take some spray paint, some of that, high heat intensity paint, and spray all the grooves where, of course, the rust tends to be. As I said, everything's so darn expensive that I'm gonna have to try to preserve everything I have because I don't really want to replace it. I was reminded of how expensive everything is that I was filling out my Schedule F for income tax, and you have to itemize your feed, your oil, your maintenance, your fertilizer, your seeds, everything that goes into the farm, and it's pretty expensive. Fortunately, it didn't apply to me, but it could have. The government has decided that because a lot of people had to sell their cows off, me included, that because of that they were going to let you defer your profits somehow. But apparently I don't make enough to worry about that anyway, so it doesn't matter. But I'm sure if they were to audit me, they'd notice that my feed bill is incredibly low for this year, or the tail end of last year anyway. But because I just didn't buy for the following year all the hay that I was using. Not all of it, but a lot of it was from the prior year. I just didn't have enough insurance. But who would think? Who would have thunk it that we're going to be in this, 40-year drought deal? Although I don't even think it was a 40-year drought. I just think it was just a good-sized drought. but I kind of gambled with the idea that the drought would happen again, not this year, but the following year, because that's what it did 9 years ago, approximately. So I just didn't want to be caught with, so to speak, my pants down and not have the assets to keep the herd alive and, you know, not make any money all at the same time. It's really kind of disappointing. Now, I didn't have too much luck direct marketing for whatever reason. I had some people call and they'd ask me all the questions, but then they buy them from their neighbor. There's a lot of people that have cattle here. Now I have a friend that's pretty successful at doing it, but they have more cows, and I don't know. It just didn't work out for me for whatever reason. People just can't afford that, you know, $1,000 bill for a half a side of beef, I guess. So it does work out economically if you do it by yourself. If you're just a homesteader and you have a single cow and you get milk off that cow and you butcher the cow that cow gave birth to. Now that works very well economically because you're using everything and you're getting a superior product. But I'm not overly convinced that the small-time farmer can really make it. At least not if you auction anything or you sell the cattle live. It just doesn't work out for you too much. I mean, even if I had gotten $4 a pound, hay had tripled, which is 80% of your operating cost. So I couldn't do it. Now the people that hay their own fields, that have the equipment, well, that's their insurance, because if they can make it through, if they get enough hay for the summer, or, you know, when haying season is, for their, you know, winter feed, they'll be able to maintain. Now I know everybody's saying, well, why don't you do that, you know, rotational grazing. I was all about rotational grazing until the 1st August, and I had to step in one of those electric lines and I couldn't get it through the ground. So then I was like, well, I'll have to put up a lot of permanent temporary fencing, like with T-posts. And I just didn't have the time to do it. I didn't have, you know, I have other things to do if I'm to enjoy it at all. I guess, you know, if I wanted to go ahead and, you know, pay someone to do all that. But at the time, I wasn't sure if I was even going to make a profit. So I just didn't want to spend a lot of money on something that wasn't a for sure. And I think, you know, the best way to have a business is already have your customers lined up before you might even have an animal. Have people that want the animal, that are going to buy the product, and then you go get the animal. I'm pretty sure that that's what I'm going to do next time, is that I'm going to have standing orders and work it more like, you know, how you would call like a cow or sheep share. Because to have the product and not have a buyer, that's too risky. That's just inventory, and that's certainly not on-demand inventory like how the smart people do it. Farmers are just, you know, you're just kind of stuck. So you have to think in a different sort of way, and I'm starting to think that way now. But you know, you think maybe you'll try it one way and it doesn't work out, so you just try a different way until you finally get the winning combination, or you quit altogether. But I'm too stubborn to quit, so I'll figure something out. Once I get a few of my personal things done, I'll start back up with livestock of some sort. I kind of like the sheep model. They breed every 5 months and might have twins or triplets even. You don't generally get that with cows. They take 9 months to have a baby, and then you still have to raise it for at least another 5 to 9 months, depending on whether your grass runs out and the auction prices are the best, or, you know, what people are willing to give you, which isn't too much more than what auction is, unless of course you have it processed. But trying to get those customers is pretty rough. I mean, you can go with the barn to door idea, but they want like money up front. They want a service charge every month. So if you don't sell something, you're out like $300+ every month. And that's like about a quarter of a cow, or half, depending on how much you're charging, of course. So I don't like that model. I'd rather have it more like Airbnb or, Hip Camp or Dirt or something like the house rental market, where if you rent it, then they get their percentage, not just a flat fee every month, whether you sell something or not. Especially when they're a new platform and you don't know how many customers or what the competition looks like, or whether people in your area, that's the other trick. Bulk beef weighs quite a bit. I mean, obviously there's people that do a very good job of it. I mean, look at Oklahoma Steaks. They did the model a long time ago, but it's certainly like not cheap beef. And so it doesn't really work for me. You've got to do what works for you, and in your area as well. I mean, I thought of just buying other people's beef and processing it. Why raise it? All the money's to be made in the sales, not really the raising of it, but that's not really what I want to do. That's not why I have a farm. So, that might make a really good business model, but it's not really what I want to do. So I guess if you're going to homestead, everybody says start small. Well, that's a fact. Start small till you figure out what you're doing, and just start. Don't waste so much time thinking about everything, but start really small. And that way you can maneuver more quickly. You're a lot more able to adapt. I honestly wish I wasn't so OCD. The different colors just really bother me. I can't have a green fence and a black fence all in one passing. It just irritates me. So be it. I want my farm to look nice. I guess pride of ownership. And I want the products that I sell to be good product as well. And you have to make your goals. Somebody was helping me move these panels, and they're like, "Who painted this?" I go, "I do. I did." And I guess it was kind of a poor job, but I got tired of it, so I had to take the blame. I guess I'm a bad worker for myself. Why don't you guys say something? You can see all these drips over here. So these, I mean, I hate to say it, but these panels are really pretty old. They were used when I got them. And that was with my first horse. So these are over 20 years old. And I know that those new panels, they don't make it. They're already rusted out down by the feet. They don't put as much steel in them or something. But they certainly charge for it enough. So when you're looking at panels, although the light ones are nice to move, same with the gates. Like, it's a whole lot easier putting up a light gate than those heavy steel ones. But have to be a little more ginger with them. And make sure they're closed when the wind comes by. Otherwise they'll rip off the hinges and you'll have to figure out a way to put a clamped fastener on it. Now my garden, as you can see, hasn't come up yet. We had a nice rain yesterday or last night. I mean, it came down hard. That's why I'm kind of rushing out here while it's dry to get paint on things. Because when it's humid and hot, it's miserable and the paint tends to dry not well. So that's what we're doing today.